Welcome to Chamber Talk. Today we are with the Laurens Youth Leadership Group, and I have Miss Kathy Allgood with me. Kathy, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for what you guys are doing here with youth leadership. Now tell me a little bit about the program and how long you've been working with this program.
Well, next year will be our 25th year.
Wow.
But the idea of it came back in 1996 when my husband Jimmy and I were in Leadership, Georgia. And Jimmy was chairman that year, and it was the 25th year of Leadership, Georgia.
Right.
And we had a big celebration, and Louie and Ann Curry from Dublin, Georgia were in that class. Jimmy and I had been involved for several years. We were in the class of 93, and then he became president in 96. But at that particular event, the 25th year, Dr. Fanning, who started Leadership Georgia from in Athens in the University of Georgia, kind of told us in his remarks that it was time to go back home and get our youth into leadership. And so at that very event, Ann and I got to talking, and we said, you know, we need to do this. We need to go back to Dublin and Lawrence County and talk to our youth and bring together an organization of our youth. Well, you know as well as everybody that Dublin-Lawrence County has 4 different schools. Mm-hmm. And at the time, they were more rivals than they were friends. And we thought, what a great way to bring the youth of our community together. And so that's how it started. It was in actually 1999, and that year at Rotary, as we were getting started, of course we needed support and money to do this. Louie walked around at Rotary and to the tables of them while they were eating and just asked for support, and it just came our way. And then Ann and I went to the school systems, the individual school systems, and sat down with the superintendent or the principal or whatever. And we didn't know what we were doing, but they all, you know, thought that we did. Mm-hmm. And they were just very big supporters of us and have been to this day. The Pilot Club of Dublin, the Dublin Rotary Club, I can't go on, the list goes on and on. But if you'll see the back of our t-shirts, then that's our sponsors, and it's just been great, and not only financial support, but volunteer service. Because if it wasn't for the Dublin Service League, doing the interviews for, you know, the kids to become participants, that takes us out of that, you know, part of it. They've done a great job.
And Kathy, you have a great team working alongside of you each
year
to help you with this program.
It started out with Ann and I, of course, and then after about 10 years or so, Ann decided that she had too many things going on, so she dropped out, but I have always been here because it's my baby and I can't let it go. But Jennifer Bryant, who was Jennifer Lindsay at the time, was in our very first class.
Oh, wow.
And after she enjoyed that program, she was a 10th grader and she wanted to come back as a, you know, and help. And she came back and took pictures and had it for our graduation process, you know, and or gathering. And she's been with us ever since.
Wow.
So she did take time to go to college, but she came back. When she came back to Dublin, she got involved. Leanne Tribble is also, she works with the county schools system, and she's been a great supporter of ours. And then she got involved full-time with directorship, as well as Ansley Ellington. She was Ansley Chapel, and she was in one of our classes. I think it was 2008, and Ansley, I'm sorry if I didn't get this right, but
that's okay.
she's come back to Dublin now and in business, and so she's with us as well, and they do a great job. So I'm stepping back and letting them lead forward.
Well, you guys have done a great job, obviously, for many years. You've grown a great program here.
Well, it wouldn't have been out without the support of our you know, businesses and volunteers, and it's been great.
And we appreciate those folks in this community that step up, especially where youth and education are involved. I want to say thank you again for your leadership here, and
Yes.
all the many hard
Well, thank
years of
you.
hard work, and
And-
we got a great group of folks.
Yes, we do, and this class may be one of the best, but I say that every year. But I will say this, it's so rewarding, like we saw today, how many
Right.
people want to come back, and start a life here after they go get their education. But that is the reward of the program, to see these people go, these young people go off, with their education and then come back and get involved in the community.
And seeing and hearing some of their presentations today, you feel like we're in good hands in the
Yes,
future. So
exactly.
we're-
I was very impressed with
Right.
some of the questions and the comments.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So we're going to take a really quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to meet some of our students. We'll
Great.
be right back.
The City of Dublin Natural Gas provides the most cost-efficient source of energy available today. So for your home, choose the most natural resource. Safe, clean, efficient. All new subdivisions around the Dublin area have natural gas available. Start reducing your energy bills today with Dublin City Natural Gas Department. Natural gas, the smart choice. Call 277-5048 today and let us help you start saving today.
Georgia Dermatology and Skin Cancer Center has been serving Georgia since 1996. Dr. Michael Sharkey, along with PAs Tony Lynn Herring, Rachel Westerbeck, Alan Manning, and Kelly Toller, have helped patients with Mohs skin cancer surgery, routine skin exams, and general and surgical dermatology. So come see the professionals at Georgia Dermatology and Skin Cancer Center, located in Aaron Office Park in Dublin. Call for an appointment today at 275-7546.
All right, I want to welcome Tinsley to the show. Tinsley, you are in the Lawrence Youth Leadership Program.
Yes, sir.
What made you decide that this was a good program for you? And first, how did you hear about the program?
I heard about the program from my mom, since she's always on the panel, and also my counselor at school, and I wanted to be in the program because I knew it would give me great opportunities.
So what kind of opportunities? That's my question. What are you looking for in this program?
I'm looking forward to learning things about Dublin 1 and how to be a leader, so if I go off to college and come back, I would know how I could help in the community.
Okay, and you guys have several different programs. I think, do you meet once a month? Is that
Yes, sir.
correct? And you have different programs. So of the programs you've been involved in this year, what's one that stood out to you and why?
My favorite one was the etiquette class because it taught us how to properly act when we were at like a 5-course meal, and just we learned line dances, and it really stuck out to me, and now it sticks with me because every time I go to dinner, I put my cup on the right side.
And today you guys talked about possible things that could be improved in our city in Dublin, and maybe some things that were negatives. But out of everything that you heard even today in your meeting, was there anything that you are hopeful for that you think might be happening sometime in the future?
Just for the teen program to continue to grow.
Fantastic. Thank you for taking time to join us today.
Thank you.
All right, I want to welcome to the show now from East Lawrence High School, Allie Grace. Allie Grace, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, youth leadership, what made you want to get involved in youth leadership?
Well, youth leadership is a very great program for youth such as myself. It offers great opportunities for learning and leadership programs to develop into greater youth that we are today.
Okay, and you guys have, again, we've mentioned already on the program, you have monthly meetings and different presenters, and you guys get to go out into the community sometimes. So, through the meetings that you've had so far, what is one of your favorites and why?
My favorite would have to definitely be today's meeting about learning more about Dublin and the historic events that it holds and every piece and facet of the buildings around Dublin.
And today your group talked about, and the question was asked, would you come back to Dublin, Lawrence County for your career or your family or not? So what was your answer to that and why?
My answer I would definitely come back. It's a great community with great people. I know so many people, and I would want to further my education here and bring back every possible opportunity that I could through the healthcare system.
Thank you for spending your time with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I want to welcome Bailey Cook to the show with Trinity High School. Bailey, what year?
23.
So you're a junior.
Yes, sir.
So you're going to be grad. So what made you get involved in Lawrence Youth Leadership?
Well, my brother and my girlfriend and also the senior class had told me how great the community was and how to get involved with it by getting into Lawrence Youth Leadership. So I decided to go out and learn about it and just join it.
So what's been your experience so far? You guys are meeting with students from West Lawrence, from Dublin, from East. Have you built some new friendships and relationships?
Well, for sure. I mean, I used to go to West Lawrence, and I've made a lot of friends from there, and it just helped me reconnect with them over the years and actually meet a few new people.
Don't you think it's pretty cool the way this program actually brings you guys together and lets you talk about your likenesses rather than talking about differences? You guys can look at things that you agree on and you want to build a future here in Dublin-Lawrence County.
Well, it really does help to connect with your friends that are of your age instead of the community members of today. I mean, it's easy to talk with people your age compared to people that are older. So it helps to connect with them and talk about the community to improve.
So what's your favorite program so far this year in the Lawrence Youth Leadership?
Well, I believe our last meeting was to the Port Authority in Savannah. It really made my attention aware to how the containers are shipped and how much cost goes into that, and inflation cost and stuff like that. It was just a big thing to see.
So graduate, stay here in Lawrence County, go to school and come back to Lawrence County, or can't wait to get out of here fast enough?
Well, I've always loved this town.
Awesome.
I've just been here all my life. I don't go out much, so this is just my hometown. I can't really leave it.
Fantastic. We look forward to having you back. Thank you for taking your time out to share with us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, I want to welcome Will Brown with me now with West Lawrence High School. And Will, tell me what made you decide that Lawrence Youth Leadership was a good program for you?
So my mother has served with Dublin Service League in the past, and she has helped interview for this club before. She told me that it was a great opportunity and that I should most definitely take that opportunity. And then also my dad has been in leadership roles for a while, and just growing up around that, I felt that I had to follow him in some way or fashion.
So what specifically, is there anything when you got into this program, did you ever think to yourself, if I don't learn anything else or gain anything else from this program, here's one thing that I hope that I learned from the program?
So in our first meeting, we learned about ourselves, and that's one thing that I most certainly wanted to keep and remember about myself and what kind of environment that I operate best in, and who and what I can handle, what I can't handle, who I need to get help from, what kind of people I need to surround myself with to make myself a better person. And so that's what I want to make sure that I remember.
That sounds like a meeting a lot of adults could attend sometime. So,
yes, sir.
So with the remaining programs, you guys already know what programs you have. Is there anything particular that you're looking forward to, or is there anything you hope maybe that you haven't experienced yet in the program that you hope you may gain from the program?
That's a hard question. Our meetings are set up, but we don't necessarily know exactly what's going to take place before. We know that, we may be going so-and-so or somewhere, but we don't know exactly what's going to happen there. I like the surprise almost. I like figuring out what we're going to do last second, and then just jumping into it and learning as much as I can.
So how about relationships with the students from the other schools?
Oh yeah. So like Bailey, I used to go to Trinity instead of West Lawrence. Probably I went one year there. I had a bunch of really best friends when I was little. I haven't seen any of them. I mean, I've seen them, but I haven't spoken to them or had super good relationships with them for a long time. And I feel like this club rekindles some of those relationships, and it even allows me to get closer to friends at my own school, because we have more time to talk, because my grade is quite large. It's 322 people. So having a little bit of time with just people that I'm not normally around at my school, it creates closer, tighter bonds.
Fantastic, and I hope you guys get to see and learn and hear about different people in different social circles and economic circles and everything else, and help you better understand maybe how to make this community a great place to live, work, and play. And I hope you are planning on coming back as well. Maybe.
So I plan to come back. It'll just I gotta make myself first. Nowadays there is no real self-made man like George Washington or somebody like that. But I want to make a name for myself.
Be a great place to do it right here in Dublin-Lawrence County. So,
right.
Hey, I appreciate you being on the show with us today.
Yes,
thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us. We'll be right back.
It's St. Patrick's time in Dublin, and no better time to save the green than at Lakes Alignment. Join the Leprechauns at Lakes Alignment and save on all your commercial and agricultural vehicles. No matter what you need or when you need it, our trucks are rolling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't let your truck cost you money by being down. Let the experts at Lakes Alignment get you rolling again. Big truck alignment, industrial tire pressing, commercial truck tires and service is only a phone call away. Elk Lake and family have been serving you at the same location behind Thomas Auto Parts since 1954. On behalf of Neil Harden and the Lake family and staff, we hope you enjoy all the festivities at the 57th Annual St. Patrick's Festival. Lakes Alignment and Commercial and Agricultural Vehicle Service. Call 272-4230 and our trucks are rolling your way. Aaron Go Bra. Have you heard about the new general store in Mentor? Drop by Mentor General Store today at 2201 Highway 29 South. We've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner cooked fresh every day, 7 days a week. At Mentor General Store, we have all types of feed: rabbit feed, dog feed, horse feed, or any feed for your livestock. We've got you covered. Going fishing? Mentor General Store has your bait and tackle, coolers, and all your fish and tackle. Mentor General Store for groceries, feed, fishing supplies, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Well, you get the picture. Mentor General Store's got you covered. Mentor General Store, right down from Union Baptist Church. Call ahead at 279-5726. Mentor General Store in the heart of Mentor, Georgia.
My name is Joshua Kite. I'm mayor of the city of Dublin.
My name's Lucas Cowart. I'm a commercial lender here at Morris Bank and also a board member for DDA.
Good afternoon. I'm Ryan Waldron, president of the Dublin-Lawrence County Development Authority.
I'm Larry Dean, sheriff of Lawrence County.
I'm old and my knees don't pop up and down like that. I'm Jackie Pittman Curtis and I'm the executive director of Communities in Schools.
Awesome. I'm Heath Taylor. I'm the president and CEO at the Dublin-Lawrence County Chamber of Commerce.
Y'all know me. We've been talking all day.
Thank you, Allie Grace.
I have a question about what can be done to help bring Stubbs Park back to its family-oriented park that it used to be.
Well, that's something that the city of Dublin's working on right now. There's a master plan for the redevelopment of Stokes Park, and I don't know if you've seen the news, but there's a couple of roads that go through where the old junior high school area was and separated from Stokes Park, and there was actually a road that went through the park itself. One of those roads has already been removed, and another one will also be removed. So at the end of the day, it'll probably double the size of the park, and all around the park, the roadways are being changed. There's roundabouts being put in to keep the traffic flowing, but there's also going to be a walking trail, 10-foot wide concrete walking trail that will go around the whole perimeter of the new park. We also just this week started looking at new playground equipment to put at the park. Our local tree board has already planted about a dozen new trees out there, and there will be a whole another set of trees that will be planted once the road construction is over. So those are some of the things that we're working on right now. In the long run, the idea is that Stokes Park's the largest park in town, or in the in-town area. The idea is to provide opportunities for skateboarding, tennis, basketball, and then walking trail. And it also has the stream that goes through it. And one of the ideas for that is to, right now the stream is only through one part of the park, which y'all probably seen, how it's kind of like a ditch, really is what it looks like. But there's a stream there, and that goes underground through where the old high school was. So one of the ideas is to daylight it, to basically dig up the stream and then dam it up to create a little pond area where the old junior high school was, and then have the walking trail go around the pond. So, so I can say the city's working really hard to fix it up. So far, there's about $2.5 million that's allocated to that, and there'll probably be another $1 million by the time it's finished. But at the end of the day, we'll have sort of a premier in-town park.
I have a question for either Jordan or Mr. Ryan. So what do y'all do, like downtown, if you want to buy a building from someone and, you know, redo it, how do you, and they don't want to sell it, what do y'all do, like if they're being like hardcore, don't want to sell?
It's a very good question. And Joshua, if y'all don't know this, let me give some context. He's the mastermind behind making downtown as incredible as it is. So I have not experienced that yet, so I'm not really sure the answer to that question. Joshua, do you know of any ways that?
Well, there's a tax reason why a lot of people who inherited buildings or who have owned a building for a really long time don't want to sell it. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that when they sell it, they're having to pay so much of it in taxes that they don't really make that much money off of it. So for them, they're almost better off if they just let the building go down and rent it out for a little bit of money each month. So you can't condemn it. It would be very difficult to do eminent domain and just take it. So you got to make it financially worth it to the person. That's number one. And you can do that, the only way to do that is offering more money than what the market value is. And sometimes that's the only way to do it. Number two is if it's a local owner, you can appeal to their pride in their town and say, hey, if you want to have a town that your kids are going to want to come back to or have an opportunity to come back to, then you need to get on board with fixing the town up. Because if you let this town look junky, then you're going to be an old man sitting here by yourself, and your kids and your grandkids are going to be gone. So, do it for the town and do it for your family. And so that's really the only two things you can do is moral persuasion and money persuasion.
I'm a SCP commercial lender with the bank, and a lot of times when you're going in and doing historic renovation on a building, the renovation costs are going to be more than what the property would appraise for or what the property's worth. So a lot of times you have historic tax credits, and I know somebody mentioned that earlier in the presentation. That can help try to persuade these owners to either go ahead and renovate it or bring somebody else to renovate it and bring it kind of up to par where we can rent it out and something to be proud of. And there's some other programs that are available too to try to help kind of incentivize these developments to go on in downtown.
And that's why what we talked about earlier with the DDA being that important middleman. So if you have situations where the historic tax credit's not working out or another grant's not working out, we can take on those projects and then later on do like we did with Dino's. We take on that building, we help oversee that project, and then we transfer it back over to the owners so that it makes that transition much smoother and more financially doable, if that makes sense. Great questions.
I played a good bit of golf at Riverview, and I've noticed it kind of it trickles down about every time I play. Like, it seems like the course isn't really cared for much, and like putting greens is not the best. I know it's not going to be perfect in most places, but are there any plans to improve the golf course?
Well, the Riverview's owned by the city of Dublin, and I'm just going to be straightforward with y'all because I'm kind of interested in hearing what your thoughts on this. Right now, the city has to spend $300,000 a year at Riverview just to keep it open. And so that's like taxpayer dollars that's going into Riverview. So if you take the money that you're paying for your round of golf and all the rounds of golf are played each year, there's a $300,000 shortfall. If Riverview were a regular business, it would have been out of business years ago. But the city's pumped $1.5 million into it in the last 5 years. So there's a lot of big questions right now about what to do with it. And these are the options. Number one, we can invest another $1 million into it to get new golf carts and irrigate the greens and bring it up to a higher level of play. Maybe that means that more people would come there. Number 2 is we could keep 9 holes and turn the other 9 holes into something like frisbee golf. Somebody had mentioned mountain bike trail, just kind of mixed use hiking trail. In other words, cut your expenses that way. Or number 3, we could just shut it down and sell off the land, or just turn it into a big park. I'm interested to hear what y'all think about that, because at the end of the day, it's a money decision. Is it worth, like if we just keep going the way we're going, it's going to be in $300,000 every year that, and that's just to keep it at the level it's at. So spend $1 million, cut it in half, or get rid of it. Anybody?
I have a question about this. Might pertain to some of the sports people in here more, but is there any talk about an indoor soccer or sports facility? I know I've heard talk about it for years, and I know it would take a while to get that, but is there any talk about anything like that happening or getting placed at Southern Pines or something like that? Or could there be, or is there anything we could do to help with that and start something about?
Well, there was some talk about that, and that's probably a $2.5 million facility to build something like that. So, see, this is why y'all should think about running for city council at some point, because you get to. I mean, there's so many different things that people want. Do you spend $2.5 million on an indoor soccer court, or do you spend $1 million at Riverview, or do you build a indoor basketball court facility like somebody had mentioned? There's only so much money out there, and you got to figure out what's the highest priority, and that's really hard to do. So yes, that has been put on the table, along with about 15 other ideas. Now, what gets funded is going to be up to city council.
But really, I think he was wanting your input on the prior question. Do y'all have any thoughts on that?
Maybe, I think cutting it in half and then having some kind of a trail or nature enjoyment area, or a more basic version of a park. Maybe not anything with crazy facilities or anything like Stubbs, but just something where people can go out and enjoy nature with the other 9.
I think it'll be interesting if y'all made it like a par 3 course. I think I would get a lot of interest.
A what kind of course?
A par 3 course where it's just all par 3s and making it to a 9-hole.
Does anybody have any ideas about the frisbee golf stuff? Is that anything that anybody does?
Frisbee golf?
Disc golf.
Disc golf. Frisbee. Yeah, disc golf. Somebody had mentioned that at our city council goal planning session. I just didn't know if that was something that young people were really excited about. Mountain biking? Mountain biking, is that something that anybody would use it for?
Mountain biking?
I don't want to advocate for one or the other, because 100 years ago, I actually played golf there when I was in high school, and all 18 holes. I think we had a region there one year. But anyway, I know a lot of the industries that we're talking to, especially those that have either an international home, or they're bringing a lot of their maybe some of their management, some of their expertise or professional positions in either from overseas or from other areas of the country. They're looking for opportunities like that. They're looking for ways to get out and go mountain biking, and they want to have some outdoor recreation activities and things of that nature. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of good options there for Riverview, and certainly applaud the council for looking at those.
Allen's Heating and Cooling is your licensed Amana equipment dealer. Trust Allen's Heating and Cooling to install and service your heating and cooling unit. Allen services all brands, and with the purchase of a new Amana, offers a lifetime compressor warranty. Call Sean Clark or any of his friendly staff at Allen's Heating and Cooling, your Amana dealer. Amana lasts and lasts and lasts.
Here at Stepping Stone, you are never alone. If you or someone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, please call our fully confidential crisis number at 478-595-8339.
I'll go next. This applies to anyone involved in making decisions for the city. Speaking of chain restaurants, are there any outreach attempts to get someone to franchise a chain restaurant that we're missing in Dublin that could potentially land a lot of sales, that people would drive an hour, say, to Milledgeville or Macon. Or have there been any open attempts to get people to try to franchise these chains?
I would tell you, so one of the questions, when I first came to Dublin, I've been here 6 years, and I've been here a week, and I was at Dunkin' Donuts, and of course somebody said, "Are you the chamber person?" And I said, "Yeah," and they said, "Well, are we ever getting an Olive Garden?" And then multiple times, and y'all have probably heard that, Dublin doesn't have the population numbers. You have to have the people in the community to bring certain restaurants, and when they look at our demographics, we don't have the numbers for some of those chain restaurants to come here. The other part of that is, and you guys do the same as I do, you go out to eat at the restaurants, and most, if not all of our restaurants are struggling to hire. So that's where you guys come in, and it's really important, and it's a great opportunity for me to give a good plug for our Summer Youth Works program. But if you're interested, I heard a lot of juniors and a lot of seniors in here, we have jobs for you. If you go to the Chamber of Commerce website or the City of Dublin website, you can find information on there, 16 to 18 years old. We've got a lot of jobs available this summer that we need people to fill. But that's another big issue, and I'm sure Ryan has to answer that question when folks even talk about industry or manufacturing or anything else, is can we guarantee these folks that we have employees that are going to work in those jobs?
It's the number one question now. The number one question. It's not incentives, it's not land, it's not building. It's am I going to be able to have a good workforce that's going to be able to come to work and make our product, distribute our product every day that we need. And again, it's flipped completely and totally. Used to, we started talking about incentives, we talked about land, we talked about building. Now it's number of people that live within a certain number of miles or a certain number of minutes of a proposed location. It's the education attainment of those individuals, and it's the ages of those individuals. So those are three big key areas that we're looking at, and we have to be able to provide that data pretty much almost at a moment's notice.
I'm on youth council, and I was wondering what's upcoming for that program, since there has been an on and off leadership going on a year now.
So I just had a meeting about that this morning, and a job description will be posted later this week for a director of that program. And the city council has decided that they want to continue to fund the youth council program, so it will continue, and the funding is there for hiring a new person. So it's sort of like what they were talking about. It's sometimes hard to find the right person. Employment's kind of tough these days to find people to fill the jobs, but we are actively looking for somebody to lead that program.
My question was about, is there a possibility that West Lawrence and East Lawrence could come together to form one county school, and if there would be any benefits from those two schools coming together?
You talking about the two schools joining, East Lawrence and West Lawrence? I don't think the demographics of the way this county's laid out, that it could be any kind of benefit, because, most everybody, 30 years ago, you always had a little small school at each school, like Dudley had a school, Dexter had a school, whatever. You had smaller classrooms, kind of like our private schools are now, but there's no way that it would be for the demographics of the location for those two schools to come together, And you got to think now, if the schools could combine, to play football or basketball, you almost got to be a junior or senior to be on a team. So look at the opportunities that we have here in Dublin. You got Trinity, East Lawrence, West Lawrence. You got chances to play on different teams. Dublin High School. You got 5 different senior groups there that you can play on, and there's an opportunity. You don't have to sit on the bench for 2 years before you ever get to play as a junior or senior. So I don't think the schools not them spending the kind of money we already spending, that'll never happen.
We just spent $30 million on a new school.
Right. And believe it or not, I've lived here long enough that when they were finishing the gym I remember I went to the old Dublin High School where they tore it down as a first grader, right beside Stubbs Park. I watched them finish my senior year. They finished a gym at the Dublin High School now, that's out there now. Did they tear that gym down too, or they kept the gym when they built the new high school this past? But anyway, I done watched the schools be built back, you know. I'm old as dirt. But y'all, a lot of things, a lot of opportunities, in my opinion, if we ever get the job base, if the workforce, we're sitting in the perfect location. You know, there's going to be 25% more stuff coming out of the port within the next 6 months. So the opportunity for job locations where y'all don't have to go to Atlanta or somewhere else to get a job to have a future, it's just a matter of time we're going to explode. I mean, because there's some counties that I'm talking to sheriffs there, that their counties are growing 50,000 a year. That's all up there at Metro, but it's stretching way on out. So eventually, I'll be willing to say in the next 15, 20 years, Dublin's going to have to pop open. But the main thing is we got to get people that want to work. We do have an advantage by having the Heart of Georgia Technical College here, Georgia Military College here. So, but you got to get people who want to work before the good jobs is going to come. Just like me, I'm at the sheriff's office out there now. I'm running. Nobody wants to come into law enforcement because there's an anti-law enforcement move in this country. Now, I'm full of deputies, but I stay 7 or 8 people short just in my jail just to get somebody to basically come to work. Now, the pay's not that good, but it does have great benefits, but it's a good way to start because you actually only working 14 days out of a month. You work shift work, but you have great benefits. You know, the salary is only about $35,000 a year, but for somebody just out, all you got to do is be 18 years old, have a clean record, and come to work and do your job. So we're struggling right now, just at the sheriff's office, just to keep people in our jail.
And I will say, first of all, I do not work for either school system, and I'm not speaking on the school system's behalf. Let's go on record that I said that. But one of the big topics, I've been in this position for 22 years, and for 22 years, school consolidation has been an issue. It's been something that's been talked about. And the merger would not be East Lawrence, West Lawrence, because they're already one system. The merger would be with Dublin City and Lawrence County merge. It's like, well, do you guys want to get married? And if you get married, somebody's got to give up their last name. Somebody's got to give up a charter. Well, you don't want to do that. That's number one. Number two, you look at, we did a study. I served on the chamber board, and we had somebody come in and we talked about this. And so if you consolidated this county, we have a huge county, right? In order for it to be fair, students who are on the east side, they said that 50% of those students would have to go somewhere else. So imagine those kids on the east side that are already getting up at 6 o'clock and getting on a bus to go to their school at East Lawrence, now being transported all the way to Northwest Lawrence. So transportation costs would eat that up immensely. Can it be done? It has been done in other places. I don't know if that's the right thing for this community. I would say, as someone who works in education, the right thing to do might be just for everybody to go to school in district. Everybody go to school where they're supposed to go, you know. But I grew up in Dexter. I went to West Lawrence. Go West Lawrence. Where my West Lawrence folks at? Go West Lawrence. You know, yeah, my Dublin daughter goes to Dublin. Yeah, pray for her. But you know, there's a whole lot of things that you have to think about, and the biggest issue with that would be the transportation costs, busing those kids from one side of this county to the other, and who wants to give up their. You know, what if they do that and then they decide, well, you can't be a West Lawrence person anymore. Now you've got to be an East Lawrence person. Or, you know, we're territorial. I graduated in 1987, and I'm a Raider. You know, I'm always going to be a Raider, and so that's hard to give that up. And those folks that went to school, like he talked about the school in Dexter and was it the Dexter Hornets?
Dexter Hornets, Dudley Cardinals.
Those folks are still Cardinals and Hornets in their heart. So it's a lot to think about and a lot to take in.
I come through the school system when they did the transition system, where my mom and daddy drove a bus that went to Dublin. My brother was in the 9th grade or 10th grade in Dublin High School. They drew a circle around Dublin. He continued to go to Dublin, and I had to go to Dudley. my latter years, I come back to Dublin when they built the new West Lawrence High School. But see, I got caught up in that transition period, and this was what's so funny about it. When you, back in the 60s and 70s, when I was going to school, Dublin was a football. You know, you lived to play for Dublin High School because they won several state championships and all that. Well, they sent me up to Dudley. They didn't have football. I had to learn how, I could throw a football through the basketball hoop better than I could a basketball. So it just changed my whole world. I mean, I'll never forget that. We tried moving to town. We moved down within the circle. Financially, you know, we were struggling. You know, you can't. But y'all have a great opportunity now because I think if you want to go to any school, if you want to live in Dublin, you want to be a West Lawrence Raider, does it even cost you anything to go out there? It's $300. $300, but that's just a minimum fee. It used to be that, but way more than that back in 1969 and 70. But it set my whole life but the great part about it is I got to play high school baseball at Dudley, and you know, and I met a whole different round of people while I was out there. In other words, I had an 8th, 9th, and 10th in the county school system, and then I moved back to Dublin my 11th and 12th year because I wanted to come. It's kind of silly for me. I lived up on the Toonsboro Road. There wasn't no need me to drive past where all my classmates were at to go out to West Lawrence. So, but we have a great school system and we have a great county. There's a lot of opportunity here and we still have a relatively safe county too. So, y'all support law enforcement. We got to get out of the mindset that we got to have police. We got to have law enforcement to have a safe community.
Dr. Avery and Dr. Chuckapella are glad to announce the opening of Central Georgia Primary Care right next to Paul's Tire at 230 Industrial Boulevard. At Central Georgia Primary Care, we offer highly skilled physicians with compassionate, personalized care focused on each individual patient as our top priority every single day. Our physicians have devoted a lifetime of excellence in healthcare. It's Central Georgia Primary Care, bringing state-of-the-art healthcare right here at home.
Hey, I'm Glenn Register with Hometown Supply. Hometown Supply, located in downtown Dublin, is here for all of your home and hardware needs. We work with customers. I know sometimes times get tough. We work with you through those. Local delivery is available for merchandise sold. Anything that a customer needs, we take care of. Just remember, if you can't do business at Hometown Supply, you just can't do business.
So my mama is a teacher at Southwest Lawrence, and I know teachers are mandatory reporters and have to report anything that they see going wrong in students.
Right.
So during COVID, you know, we couldn't go to school. So how were the reports of child abuse affected by this?
We still handle cases every day. I mean, you know, any doctor, any medical facility, when the child abuse is seen about, it's mandatory reported. We work child abuse cases all the way through this year. I mean, the COVID, I figure, the truth be known, there was probably a lot more children abused while they was out for the COVID than they were if they was in a system at school. That's just something that we had to live through. But we take child abuse real seriously. Any issue reported by DFACS or any medical doctor or any school teacher or whatever, we do a great job with that.
Those numbers did go down because, as you said, people are not in school, and folks like your mom who are trained and they know they've got those kids that they look at every day, and they're, you know, they can see if something's going on, and so to not have that set of eyes on them was hard. There were less reported, but more incidents, and also domestic abuse more prevalent during those times as well. So that's a good question.
One other thing that I want to hit on, and I noticed this when I first became sheriff. You know, I was a game warden for 25 years, and I was in the classrooms teaching hunter safety because you know, if you went hunting in Georgia when you got 16-year-olds, you had a hunter safety. You had to go through a hunter safety class. But the first year that I became sheriff, I had some people coming to me, and I'll be honest with you, You know, I don't really see anybody with any real crazy color of hair in here today, right? I mean, that's great, but you know how we as, what we think is a normal family, we want to categorize, with, you know, in some of our schools, you've got these kids that are in these, that they seem that they run together and that we want to call them weird or whatever. Well, listen to me. Those people, a lot of times, those kids are bonded together because they don't have a normal home life. And a lot of times there's been abuse in those homes. And I'm not trying to categorize that somebody wants to go to have red or green tomorrow and come to school, they're weird. But when you got people that really bond together and hang out together, and they seem like they shun everybody else, but their little group, 10 or 15 people, I found out there was a lot of abuse. People come to me and there was child abuse going on in their school or sexual abuse in there. So don't get it in your mind that you're normal, because there may be about 15 or 20 of those people, they're hanging together, they doing some of what you think is weird to them, they're bonding together because they reaching out for help. So I know the counselors at the schools and all can pick up on it like that, but that was the first thing that I picked up on as being sheriff, because I had more than one instance within the first year. I probably had 6 or 7 people they was saying the kids are weird at school. You know what I mean? But they were bonded together because they didn't have a normal life. They had been sexually abused as small or just different things and that. So be compassionate to everybody. Don't bully people. I guess the whole thing I'm getting back to is when you see somebody being bullied in your school, step up to the plate. Stop.
I go to West Lawrence High School. Very introduced. This is an education-based question, but y'all just started offering like AP classes to sophomores. I know we have a government one this year, and y'all are offering biology next year. I was just wondering if I ever thought about eventually like giving all 4 AP classes maybe to sophomores or freshmen.
I don't work for the school system. Did somebody record that? I don't. But that would be a great question to go to your counselor about and talk about what you would like to see.
Okay.
Okay, y'all, let's interact. There's your chance.
I'm call on them. Thank you.
Okay, so I live over there by Trinity, but I go to West Lawrence. So I get on the bypass every day to go to school, 41. And I have to get on the bypass where Claxton Dairy, well, I get on off Claxton Dairy, and that's, all my life it's been a dangerous intersection with many different wrecks or whatever. And I know they tried a couple years ago to put yield signs there. I just want to know if there's anything that y'all can do to make that place safer or anything else.
You're talking about right there on the Claxton Dairy Road where that
In the bypass.
in the bypass, and you go right on across the Claxton Dairy Road. Y'all, the state has made it as safe as you can. It's right in those curves, and you just got to be careful because, you know, they've got it out there. Man, you can pull out to halfway out in the middle waiting to get up to the furthest lane. You know, if the southbound lane's coming into town, y'all young people just got to get on your game. Quit trying to text while you're riding down the road.
Okay. So mine would be we're over there talking about the buildings that are getting renovated on the end of the street. For businesses, we were wondering if there would be any incubators for new people coming in town, moving into town, for their businesses to be held there for a little while, like business incubators.
I've not thought about that, but I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, and I will say, kind of like what we talked about on the tour, just since January, we've had 5 businesses that are outside of Lawrence County that are interested in coming to our downtown district. But no, I think that's wonderful. We had actually had a discussion about that before COVID, about finding a way to have some kind of small business incubator, just so that, you know, when we have potential businesses, potential buildings that are open, then we can make that shift. But I think that's a wonderful idea. You want to work for downtown?
I'm down.
thank you for that. That just, yeah, that's a great question.
Not necessarily incubator space, but one of the things that we've noticed in my tenure in economic development is, for a lot of small businesses, that initial startup cost is the big thing that keeps them from doing something. And when I say startup cost, I'm even including like buying the land, improving the property with grading, putting in road, water, sewer, all the infrastructure to get a building up and going, get their business up and going. So that's one of the reasons why the Development Authority created our Entrepreneur Small Business Park, because we also realize that almost 80% of the businesses within the state of Georgia have less than 10 employees. So we talk about the big numbers, and that's really great, that's really exciting. But our small businesses are the ones that keep our downtowns vibrant, that keep our communities going, support our school systems and recreation and athletics and all the other fun things that comes along with that. And probably most of your parents work for a small business. I know my dad did, my mom taught school, but our folks work for small businesses, and everyone that I think that I knew growing up worked for a small business. But anyway, that's why we created our Entrepreneur Small Business Park. So right now we've got 55 acres that's being developed. We've had a number of different companies that have come to us, all from outside of Dublin, and saying, hey, we're interested in Dublin, we're interested in Lawrence County as a place to do business. How do we get set up here in the park? So we're excited about that and the growth that that's going to do. A little bit different than incubator space and that kind of thing, but a lot of good service-oriented industries that we're talking about. They'll ultimately create really good, awesome job opportunities.
I'll back that up. The redevelopment that was done on the Henry Building downtown, there's a couple of spaces that are available on the bottom floor and some that have some shared resources. So on a business incubator, it is a way to get some businesses start up. They originally had some shared office space on the top floor, but had one tenant came in and take that over. So you're starting to see that idea come to life on some of these more recent projects that we've done to try to help get, like you said, the smaller businesses kind of a leg up, help them get in and without so much upfront cost.
Joshua and I actually, I don't know if you were fixing to speak to that, Joshua. Yeah, we met with some folks from Georgia Southern about small business incubator here, and I think as Lucas was alluded to, James Sasser bought the whole top part of the building that was going to be a small business incubator, and I don't know if that's what Louis had planned across the street, but I think James has already bought that as well. But there have been some attempts to bring small business incubators here, so it's not something that's unheard of. It's not something that's not being discussed. It just hasn't come to fruition yet.
I would point out that we do have one small business incubator already, and that's what Jordan does at the farmers market. There's no telling. Do you know how many businesses, like full-time businesses, have come out of the vendors at the farmers market?
I know since I've been there, and I've been there for about 3 years, we've had at least 10 actual businesses. Or my very first one, I don't know if y'all ever been, there's Miss Judy who used to sell cheese straws. She actually sold her recipe, and now they're in every single Piggly Wiggly in Georgia, Alabama, and the Carolinas. And the same thing with Sundown Cattle Company. They started at the farmers market, started during COVID, like we were talking about earlier, and now they have a full-time business that they're running. So, yeah, the farmers market is a great way to get started if you're thinking about doing that line of work.
Yeah,
so.
for almost, is it still free to be a vendor?
It's still free, yeah.
So if you've got a business idea where you're selling something, you go and set up a booth at no cost, and like she said, there's been a ton of businesses that have been successful coming out of the farmers market.
Yep.
Badcock Home Furniture and More is your home store, where you'll find great savings on new living room sets, sofas, love seats, recliners, and more. Badcock Home Furniture and More has great savings every day on bedding and bedroom sets. Shop Badcock Home Furniture and More for a great selection of dining room sets, and save every day on electronics and appliances at Badcock Home Furniture and More, 1927 Highway 441 South in Dublin. Call 275-3144 for more information, or stop by and see Wendy and Tim Sumner or any of their friendly staff today at Badcock and More Home Furniture Store, where no credit is ever refused.
All right, boys, if you want to go to college, you have to clear out another one of these.
What if we told you there was a better way to save for your kids' college than pickle jars? Morris Bank's Savings Builder account and Moolah makes saving for your kids' college easier than ever. All you have to do is connect the account to your debit card, where it automatically rounds up your purchases to the nearest dollar. depositing that spare change into a moolah account where it will grow into a nice little nest egg for whatever your kids have their sights set on.
Okay, this kind of ties into that, but not really. Are there any new like businesses or attractions coming to the Dublin Mall?
Not that I'm aware of. I hate to say it, I'm good friends with the guy that owns the mall and the guy that manages the property. And they've come here several times and talked to us about potential businesses and retail stores coming in, but I've heard that story enough and nothing's happened. So I'm not real encouraged, and I hate to say that, but I'm not real encouraged that there's any new retail or any type of store coming to the mall right now.
Have you heard about the theater operator looking at the old theater building?
And that is, I don't know, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up from that.
Yeah,
but AMC did, or currently, they're redoing one of their theaters in Athens. And I'm good friends with the chamber president there, and he called me and did tell me that one of the places they were discussing possibly doing the same thing was Dublin, Georgia. But nothing is at all has been validated as far as that goes. So, but we would sure like to see that.
Y'all, I got a question for y'all. Basically, mine is gonna be law enforcement, and I need some answer to this. Do you feel safe at your school, in your home, and in your community? And if you're not, what can I do as sheriff and the mayor of the Dublin Police Department, what can we do to make your town safer? I mean, do y'all have fear of going out, hanging out, and doing things here in our county?
I had a question, and this isn't really answering your question, but around how many robberies are there a month in Lawrence County, and are you doing anything to lower that number?
We got some statistics about, you know, our burglaries and robberies, but I'd have to get you those numbers up. I mean, relative, we have compared to cities our size, we have really a safe community. I mean, y'all know the drug culture has grown tremendously now, and the drug culture don't work like it did 20 years ago. Used to, when you was working drugs, and drug culture is what creates 80% of your crime. Just like I'd been sheriff 12 months, 75% of the inmates that are in my jail has circled back through that jail within 12 months period of time. So it's just a small majority of the people. It seems like we got tons and tons of people out there doing violent crime or doing crimes or in trouble, but it's really a small majority of the people. It's just repeat offenders, and it's the way our system's set up. You know, our whole correctional system throughout the whole United States. It's not Lawrence County. It's not Dublin, Georgia. It's not state of Georgia. It's the whole way the whole correctional system is. People don't fear going to prison anymore because they got as many rights inside the prisons as they got on the street. And they still have access to cell phones. A cell phone inside a prison will bring $1,500. So they still can communicate, but to our national law enforcement community decide to do something to it, the pendulum's going to still keep getting up there with a lot of crime. But it's hard to put a number on that. We have statistics at this office.
But Sheriff Dean also asked for your input. Do you feel safe at your schools, in your community? Do you feel safe going out?
It's not necessarily like, I guess, an issue to say, because like in between periods, like going into the bathroom, I feel like I'm moving through a crowd of people who are not there to use the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like they're almost all day doing this. It's like it's not that I feel like unsafe, but it's just like I just hate that I can't use the bathroom in between my own classes, and I have to like take time and like ask my teacher to go to the bathroom because I don't want to go in there when there's 5-6 people in one stall and then maybe, I don't know, 15 people just all around the bathroom in general, all like.
Is that also part of the TikTok challenges that have been going on, you think?
Yeah, that's toilet paper. Isn't that homecoming week? No toilet paper. Bring your own. There's no toilet paper.
We had no soap for like, we still have no soap in some places.
Well, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like toilets were taken from the stalls, sinks were removed from the walls, that kind of stuff. Is that right?
Okay. Tucker, or Ms. Shaw, were you finished?
Yeah, I was done. I just wanted to voice up.
Okay.
Okay, well, I was just gonna answer his question about, you know, we had that school shooter threat. I can't remember when it was, but to be honest, then some people were not even going to school the day it was supposed to happen because they were scared. But to be honest, I really, just like you said, because of the people in the town, I really didn't believe it. And I wouldn't say I feel safe because of law enforcement, just because of the area that we're in, I do feel safe. Okay.
But you know, in the school systems, in the county school systems, we have over 50 armed teachers in our system, because that's better than hunking over there behind the desk and let the threat come to you and somebody walk in the room and shoot everybody in there. So we do have armed teachers in our schools, and actually the man that put this program on, Sid Harrison, the lieutenant that works for me, did a great job. He actually spoke to the state of Georgia, to all the superintendents of the state of Georgia about school security. So Lawrence County has moved way ahead of a lot of our bigger cities, and you know, when they first introduced this bill about arming our teachers, somebody said, well, if I'd want to be a police officer, I wouldn't have went to the teaching profession. But most everything happens within the first 3 minutes of a school shooting. And if I was right there in our office and had to go to school, it's going to take me 5 minutes to get there. So I'm proud of the effort that the Lawrence County School Board, our commissioners work with us, and arming our teachers in there. And I feel like we got a safe school, but I just want to know what y'all's input is on it. And y'all, social media, look here. You know how everybody wants to go home from school because we got a bomb threat? Yeah, we can't, that kind of stuff, it spreads so fast, it just scares us to death when somebody puts it out there. That's the reason we try to be so transparent at the sheriff's office. When something does happen in the school, we try to get on our social media and put it out there to the parents, because everybody wanting to rush over there to the schools, you know, to get their kid out of school there, you know. So I just wanted y'all, if y'all had any feedback how we could do, as law enforcement, can make it any safer for y'all to even hang out here in town or in the city or in the county, or y'all, that's been an ongoing problem. I'm 67 years old, and we used to have to go out to the airport in the woods out there and party out there. And then finally, after the party got so big out there, they done away with that. So we was back in town, riding the street.
Jackie, did you want to? Well, I was just going to address your point. Have you said anything to anybody at the school about how you feel? Like, have you said something to a teacher or to an administrator? Have you gone to them and said, hey, this is happening and it makes me feel this way?
I mean, I brought it up to multiple teachers. Like, I brought up teachers, like, outside of the bathrooms and stuff, like, because, you know, they do have the teachers there to, like, catch that kind of stuff. But, I don't know how it's either such a problem that so many people are doing it that catching 1, 2, or 3 people doesn't matter, or they're somehow able to get away with it every time with little to no repercussions.
I would just say, you know, I would advise you to go back to school and say something to an administrator, go to the principal, go to an assistant principal, because I always tell the kids in our building, we run an after-school program, I can't fix things that I don't know about. And so if you tell me and I don't do anything, then that's on me and that's a problem. But tell me and give me an opportunity to fix it. And so I would definitely say go back to the administration, because nobody should, you know, be uncomfortable. And so please make sure you go back and share that.
It's nothing personal. It's just business.
Hello?
That's how some people do things.
Right away.
To us, everything we do is personal. Because anyone can answer the call. It's who shows up that matters most. That's the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them.
Ask Curry Maffett Insurance in Dublin if auto owners make sense for you.
At Dublin Chevy Nissan, we're getting the St. Patty's Party started early. When you come to Dublin for our St. Patrick's Day Festival, make sure and visit Dublin Chevy Nissan. With shipments of new GMs and Nissans coming daily and a wide selection of pre-owned vehicles, don't miss the party of the year at Dublin Chevy Nissan. At Dublin Chevy Nissan, we take pride in turning our inventory. So if you see it online or on the lot, act quickly. And remember, Don sells trucks well at Dublin Chevy Nissan.
I'm thankful that we're in a school where we haven't had situations where we have to be scared of those kind of things. Obviously, there was that situation that happened last semester.
but I do feel unprepared. I don't feel like it's talked about enough. And like, if something were to happen tomorrow at school, I don't think very little to no students would know what to do in those types of situations. And I think the only time it has been discussed is when we are in that moment of having fear that it might happen soon. And I feel like that's a bad time to bring it up. You know, I feel like we feel unprepared. I remember the last time we discussed what the plan would be for that type of stuff. We feel safe though. I feel unprepared.
Well, I'll tell you all this. Basically our plan is that every teacher that's trained that can tow the firearm at your school has been put in scenarios where they're going through the shooting. They're not going way back. In other words, they're going to respond just like it was a deputy sheriff. It's not going to be like it was in Florida down there where that security guy that was a school resource officer out there hiding in the tank when he should have been charging in there. Because when we put these teachers through this program, I promise you, we've told them, you're going through the fight. You're not to be passive and let the fight come to you. If there's firearms in your school, if somebody's shooting somebody in your school, your teachers are trained to go to that shooting. So y'all should feel a lot safer that, because there's thousands of schools across this nation that don't have that ability.
But I think to your point, that I hope that, because I've been coming to these for a long time, and Jennifer will tell you, I'll call her and say, hey, am I not included this year? I haven't heard from you. What's going on? I love this, because I love to hear what you guys are thinking. But I feel like you shouldn't have that fear, and so I hope that these things they'll go back and say, hey, this came out of this session, so maybe some training for our students, because I think it's great that the staff is trained, but you're right, you know, what can we do to make sure that the students feel comfortable, that they know what's going on? So maybe, you know, that can go back to the school districts as well.
That's a great question. I mean, we hadn't even addressed that issue at all. You know, I mean, I guess we was leaving that up to the school administration of how much they wanted to advise y'all then, but I'll mention that to Lieutenant Harrison that first instituted that program, and let him go back through the chain of command with the school system and the board, and we'll address that issue.
Great points.
One of my main issues of safety for Dublin is I think we're a relatively safe community, but the crime rate probably towards that area of town, south side, and like Stubbs Park. Like I used to go to Stubbs when I was little, but now I just don't like going up there because, you know, crime rate's high. People get shot there all the time. People get mugged. But I think that fixing it up and doing that project y'all were talking about, as well as I guess more law enforcement presence, I think that would drive the crime rate down.
Right, and the mayor here and the new chief has come in, has come to me and met with me several times and said, we fixed to put blue lights back in Dublin. I mean, we used to, 15, 20 years ago, if you ramble around town very much and you was showing out, somebody's gonna put a blue light in your window and you was gonna stop. We're gonna do our very best to do that. The county commissioners, which controls my budget, has funded me like a couple extra extra officers that I can put on the shifts, because, you know, right now we only run 6 people to a shift. There's 864 square miles in Lawrence County. So we try to put a man in each zone, and we let the city kind of have the city, because, you know, they're right here group, but we're going to coordinate together as a law enforcement agency, and we're going to try to make our city just as safe as we can. But y'all, we have our hands tied to a certain point, because the way the gang culture is working nowadays, they want to arm 13 and 14, 15-year-old people because they won't get in near as much trouble if they get caught with a firearm. And that's what's going on now. The state of Georgia, the governor introduced a statewide task force that will work on nothing but gangs in our cities, in our smaller communities. And actually one of the guys that's over the gang task force is a resident of Dublin, and he's working real closely with us with ATF and DEA and all, and working with the gangs. So we're on top of that issue. I mean, we're doing everything in our power. And like I say, financial situations, I mean, you know, everybody says we want this, this, and this, but there's only, you ask your mom and daddy about the taxes they already paying, they ain't want to pay no whole lot more. So going back to tearing up stuff in the school, remind those people that's tearing that stuff off the wall and throwing that toilet paper in the thing that they're wasting money. They're just wasting money. There's nothing more upsetting than to go to the bathroom and need to go and there's nothing there to strike with, right?
And I'll say this just as a resident. I live on South Drive in Subs Park, and just in the little bit that I've been there, like as a kid, like I feel you. You know, like whenever I told my family that I was moving to Subs Park, they're like, "You're crazy. What are you doing?" And like the city has really, we have a police precinct there. The changes that are going on in the park, there's already a drastic difference from what we experienced to what's happening now. So like it still has that negative side to it, but I will say personally, we've been fortunate that nothing has happened. We haven't had any issues living there, and I feel safe, very safe, living in Subs Park.
You probably don't even remember this, Jordan, but whenever I started working with downtown back 10, 12 years ago, there's an idea that downtown was unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And there weren't a lot of businesses in downtown. People didn't go downtown after dark. And everybody said, oh, downtown's an unsafe place. And so really before we started with the plazas and the business recruitment and everything, we spent about 2 years just cleaning things up. And y'all may have heard of like the broken windows theory that in New York City, where the idea that if there's a broken window, then that invites more crime. And the crime escalates from a broken window to, you know, robbery to mugging to violence. But if you can fix the broken window, then it stops the process right at the beginning. So that's what we did in downtown. So where there were boarded up windows, we took the boards down and the DDA paid for glass to be put back up. Where there was, we got the city to do an extra street cleaning. We asked the police department to have a downtown police officer to sort of walk the beat. We got flower pots downtown. We just spent a lot of time just picking up trash, cleaning up, making things look clean, and as soon as something got broken, we'd fix it. And you do that for a couple of years, and suddenly it feels safe again. And once it starts feeling safe, then a business opens. And then you get more eyes on the street, and that increases your sense of safety. And then you get more businesses because it's a virtuous cycle that starts. And then you get to the point where you can really do some beautification projects, like the Bicentennial Plaza was the first big project. Well, we're trying to apply that same process to Stubbs Park. Like when, even just last year, whenever I started as mayor, just walked through the park and there's broken playground equipment, there's graffiti, there's an old broken fence, there's litter, there was a toilet in the stream, in the ditch, refrigerator parts just kind of strewn about, bushes that were overgrown. It's like, number one, before we start spending $2 million, let's pick up the trash. Let's take down the broken fence. Let's get rid of the broken playground equipment and paint over the graffiti. And we still, I mean, we have just started this effort. But the police department was great. They have started manning that substation down there. There's a little police precinct that's right at the top of the park. So there's a police officer there for a lot of the hours of the day. So give it another year, and I think that whole area is going to, you know, look totally different. And give it 2 to 3 years, and people are going to forget that they used to be unsafe there or feel unsafe there. But you got to start with the small things.
From humble beginnings with a desire to serve the Dudley community, Bank of Dudley has grown to 5 locations, serving Lawrence, Twiggs, and surrounding counties. Serving our community since 1905, the Bank of Dudley is looking forward to its 2nd century of community banking. Drop in today to any of our 5 locations: Jeffersonville, Dudley, East Dublin, Veterans Boulevard, and downtown Dublin. Bank of Dudley, member FDIC, and an equal housing lender.
I'm Heath Richter, and we just want to invite everybody to come on down to the Houston Clinic and check us out at our new facility. We've been in Dublin for a while now, obviously, but have a new office here, and we'd just like you to come down and see some of the new stuff we're offering. And if you need to get checked out, we'd be glad to do that for you. We've got able to do some ultrasound guided injections now, and physical therapy, and just a little bit better space. So hopefully we can get you in and out of here a little bit quicker.
Come by and see us today at our brand new location, the Houston Clinic, Medical Drive in Dublin.
I wanted to answer your question about do we feel safe in school, and not that I don't feel safe, it's just the fact that how easy I know it is to bring something inside the school, because I know we had an incident in my school, I go to East Lawrence, and a student had brought a gun to the school, and so and then that's just what teachers know about, is certain weapons that can be brought onto the school grounds that teachers don't know about, so I just wanted to say that how easy it is to bring stuff onto school grounds and inside the school.
And y'all, and we have a time keeping guns and handguns and weapons out of a prison that's got a fence around it where everybody's checked. We don't want to get to the point where we got to go out there and everybody walks in our school, we got to run through a scanner machine before they can walk into the school. I mean, we don't want to create that kind of atmosphere, but just knowledgeable people passing the information on. Law enforcement, basically, y'all, is receiving of information and passing it on to the right people. Communication. That'll want to make you safe. That'll want to make your community safe. Just like she was saying about, they've done some studies on some criminals that was profiling people like walking out from the mall or walking out from Walmart. A person that seems like they got their heads on the shoulders, they know where their car is, they're going to be passive, and they're not passive, they're going to be aggressive, they know their car is right here, they're going to go do that. They will not, even some of the most psyched out criminals in the world, they can pick up on the real passive person that's just lost and, did I park at this row or walking out of the mall, did I park over this road? Just be observant, like I say, be aware of your surroundings. That's the best information that anybody could give you about being safe in this country. I mean, we live in a safe community and we still live in a safe nation, so we don't need to live our lives in fear. I mean, we hadn't reached that point in our country that we need to be about living our lives in fear. I mean, like I say, me as law enforcement, I see a lot more than the average person does, and it kind of it works on you. But after a while, you step back and you look at the big picture and say, okay, I wasn't even aware of all this happening, so I need to keep some of this stuff to myself and just and like I say, perception is everything. So just remember that. Perception is everything. So when you're out, be aware of your surroundings and you can be safe. But when you have information of somebody with a firearm or anything, pass it on to another student. Don't get the attitude, well, I don't want to be a tattletale or what is a snitch. That's going to make you safe. You don't want to, somebody you think's got a firearm over there and then they go to having a bad moment and pull it out and shoot 5 or 6 people. So if you have any information, pass it on to the teacher. If you don't feel confident, go tell somebody in confidence and then let somebody investigate it. Because like I said, we have resource officers at every school that can help you.
And I'll say, because I went to East Lawrence, and I graduated in 2017, so like only 5 years ago. And when I went, like your vocation building's open, that side door, like going past Mr. Carmen's classroom still open. There's a lot of unlocked doors there when I was there, and like we had students that would bring stuff like I don't know, a deer leg to school, or like, y'all think I'm crazy? For real, we had a kid bring like a whole deer leg to school just because it was so easy to bring stuff like that into the school. But now, like, y'all have this whole different security system set up when you go through the office, mostly. Because before, they just let you in. Like, it's a small town, everybody knows your mom and your daddy, your grandma, your grandpa, great aunt, uncle, whatever. But thankfully, East Lawrence has realized like how important safety is, and I think that they're really working hard to make you guys feel safer. Because I've been where you are, and it's not a good feeling. So I hope that makes you feel just a little better.
Okay. I have one question. All right, has there ever been like incidents of like sex trafficking in Dillon? Because like that's becoming a rising issue. More like larger places like Macon and Atlanta and like places like that.
Do we have sex trafficking here? Yes, sir. We did. More so out here around our interstate areas, stuff like that. I've actually had some officers that stopped some vans and all. You could tell they had people in them. But yes, it's here. It's in every city. No matter if it's in Alamo or Macon or Atlanta, there's a certain amount of it going on. We have our nation has open borders on the Mexico side, and our drug problem is coming from the cartels that are running this country. And till we secure our borders. And I was gonna say this earlier, years ago, when you was in the dope business, you had a big man at the top and you worked your way up to the top to get the big man. Now, somebody with $15,000 to $20,000 now can drive to Atlanta, Georgia, pick up a kilo of cocaine or a kilo of meth and come back to Dublin. And he can be a big man, you know. So the availability of drugs in Atlanta or Savannah coming back to our city and the sex trafficking too, it's out there. I mean, but we have an interstate team that stops a lot of cars every day out there on the interstate.
Like 199, or he'll get you if you go too fast.
There you go. But y'all, listen to this, y'all. Basically, we are set to not stop anybody. 90% of our tickets on the interstate are wrote over 90 miles an hour. Now, I had one come in there the other day that was running 89, and they wrote him a ticket. But remember, 90% of everybody out there. Now, I'm not going to let you run 85 miles an hour out here on this bypass, which if you'll notice, I'm in an unmarked vehicle, and I come in every day. The speed limit's 55, and I was running 67, and there were people passing me every day coming into town. So, you know, law enforcement, if we didn't do something to try to keep the speed limit down, if you tell people they can drive 70, they're going to drive, they think automatically they can drive 90 or 80. You know, if you tell me the speed limit 70, I'm automatically going to run 80. So, but we do have some, we've seen some little signs of sex trafficking out here around our truck stops and stuff like that.
Has inflation been affecting Dublin?
Has what now?
Inflation.
Yes, it's go look at the gas pumps. Go to McDonald's. Yeah, inflation it's affecting everybody. The price of gas inflation is up 8 or 9% this year. Yes, it's affecting everybody.
You also notice it in the grocery stores and really anything you're buying, that there's also shrinkflation where the price may stay the same, the amount of product you get is less. So yeah, it's affecting everything.
That's kind of like what we talked about.
You just notice it the most at the top.
Yeah, we talked about that on our tour when we were at the farmer's market, how we were talking about the price of beef going ridiculously up during the pandemic, and that's, you know, why it's so important to support all of your smaller local businesses, because they're going to try their very, very best to keep these rates as consistent as possible. So, you know, make sure that you're shopping like at our farmers market, or shopping with our downtown businesses, eating with our restaurants. Obviously these prices are going to affect all of them, but the more support that you can pour into them, the better of a chance that they have. You know, I know you guys are wanting more chain restaurants and other larger franchises, which is great. I have nothing against franchises, but your small businesses, that's what's funding your basketball or your baseball at school, or like your Skills USA conferences and things such as that. So just keep that in mind as you see these prices go up. Remember that investing in your local businesses is extremely important during this time.
Another thing I think that's important to realize is that it's not just inflation that's impacting all the prices we see at the grocery stores and the stuff we see on the shelves. So we talk about the stores, you know, in restaurants, but also retail stores that we'd like to see here. They're also being hit with astronomical costs. So as they're bringing in product from overseas, a couple of years ago, a container from China cost $3,000 to get it from China to the port of Savannah. $3,000. This past winter, it hit 30 grand. $30,000. That's just for the box and the ship. That's not including the stuff inside of it. So, you know, it's costing the stores and the retailers a lot more money to get their products over here. So you're seeing price increases on that. We're also seeing price increases on things like steel, masonry, wood. I mean, lumber went outrageous during the pandemic. I don't know if y'all watched that or not, or if your parents built a deck. You know, good grief. I still got a fence at my house if somebody wants to come and tackle that for me. That needs to be redone. But, you know, you see all these price increases. Well, that means our buildings are more expensive. So again, you take a store that might have said, hey, I'm interested in expanding, and I'm interested in expanding in Dublin, Georgia, but suddenly that building went up 30% plus, you know, several 100% on the container cost just to get my products over here. Pretty soon it prices them out of the market. So it's a combination of not only what he said earlier with population and income and rooftops that we have here, but then it also becomes just a financial decision a lot of times on the store and the corporate location of the store, whether it's a small business or a big business, to be able to grow in a community. So inflation's really, really hitting a lot of different areas, not only the grocery store, not only the pumps, but also, you know, as we talk to businesses that may be interested in coming to Dublin too.
Well, I'll add one more thing to that. The city of Dublin has been planning over the last year to build a fire station on the north side of town. And that would be out, as you're going out 441 north towards Holly Hills, you know where the Friendly Gus is. Just a little bit before that, the city of Dublin owns a piece of land there, and we're wanting to build a north side fire station. We had $2.5 million in the budget for that, and when by the time we were able to get pricing on it a month ago, it had gone up to $5.2 million. So that project had to be scrapped, and it's going to basically go back to the drawing board to try to get your costs down. But basically, in the course of a year, you're from $2.5 million to $5.2 million. So and that's inflation, inflationary pressure, and also wage pressure too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Quality products and installation since 1985. That's 4 Seasons.
It's never a bad time to get what you need at Roach Farm and Garden. Stop worrying about food shortages. Roach Farm and Garden has every type of seed and fertilizer to ensure you have the best garden available. We even have a few seed potatoes left. Don't wait, come see us today. Is hunting season ever really over? Nope. Keep those feeders going with Antler Extreme, 4S 80M feed. We also carry salt and mineral blocks. Improve your wildlife on your farm or hunting club with some predator control. Roach Farm and Garden has the traps and supplies to get you started. Did someone say feed? From horses to chickens and everything in between. Roach Farm and Garden carries all the feed and all the pet supplies you will ever need. Carhartt pants and jackets, bibs, and full line of Georgia boots. Come compare our prices. Looking for a gift or finishing up a honey-do list? Roach Farm and Garden has grills, cookers, fire pits, and patio furniture. Don't forget, it's that time of year to plant trees. And Roach Farm and Garden has a full greenhouse with shrubs, trees, and flowers arriving daily. Stop in and compare. Just remember, there's something for everyone at Roach Farm and Garden. 2 locations, Dublin and Wrightsville.
Has there ever been talk about like merging Dublin and like East Dublin together? I was just thinking about that because like East Dublin's really small and doesn't have like a lot going on.
You know, Dublin was founded, I think, in 1812, and then East Dublin wasn't founded until the 1950s, I think. And it, you know, it's just the city of Dublin runs gas lines, water lines, sewer lines, has its own police department, and East Dublin's got a lot of that same stuff themselves. So the river, if you're talking about infrastructure like gas lines, water lines, things like that, the river is a real barrier. So it'd be hard to merge those systems just because of the separation that the river causes.
I was wondering if there was like a possibility you build like a basketball gym out of Southern Pines, because the one that they used for rec, like when I was little, played it was like in a really bad location. That county gym.
I think that I don't want to speak for the rec department, but did the West Lawrence Middle School gym, is that, anybody familiar with that? Isn't the middle school being moved and that gym would be left over there? I don't know. I think that there was some idea of using the old West Lawrence Middle School gym and kind of fixing it up and expanding it for basketball. But again, I'm not speaking for the rec department. But right now, you've got indoor gyms at the schools, at Oconee, and at Stubbs. And I think that that's all on the table in the next couple of years as to what to do with each of those.
I'm like downtown a lot of the time, and the only thing that still really makes me uncomfortable is the homeless people or the people that aren't as fortunate. And I was just wondering if there's like a place where those people can go, or anything that City of Dublin's doing to help those people.
I mean, we understand, you know, that is, the homeless population is increasing dramatically. And, you know, it's really hard to try to figure out a good central location for those people to have a safe space. You know, and it makes you feel uncomfortable, but imagine how they feel, because they don't have anywhere to go. To them, where they're sleeping, if it's a bench or if it's under the farmer's market, that's their home to them. So we are trying, just from the downtown standpoint, it's hard for us to try to figure out where exactly we could safely place these people so that they feel comfortable, and that we can have opportunities for them to get back on their feet and to learn how this works, and how to, you know, if they're wanting a job or if they're wanting this or wanting that. I don't know, Joshua, if the city's had any discussion.
There are some nonprofit groups that have looked at things like no free shelters, you know, but you've got the homeless population. It's not just like they're all the same. You've got mental illness, you've got substance abuse, and then you've got people who just have some economic disruption. And for the people who are just like have lost a job and have gotten kicked out of an apartment and don't have a place to go, it's really relatively easy for them to get, not easy, but there are resources available for them a lot of times through churches and nonprofits. Some of the people that you see in downtown and other parts of town are in halfway houses where they've been basically let out of jail and for substance, or have a substance abuse problem, and they're living in a group home with other people who have substance abuse problems, and they don't really have anything to do during the day. So a lot of them are just on the street. And we're looking at regulating those type of group homes a little bit more to make sure that they have some activities to do, and that they aren't just getting money from the government to house the people and then they're just on the street all day. The mentally ill is a really difficult problem. That's the one that nobody's really got a solution to, because a lot of times they don't want to take whatever services are available. And when the institutions were shut down, a lot of those people just went to the streets. And there's, you know, so there used to be at Central State Hospital in Milledgeville, there were institutions for the mentally ill, and they just don't really exist in any kind of numbers now. So there are a lot of mentally ill people who it's very hard to connect them to services. So what I'm saying is that there are problems that don't have solutions. And when a problem doesn't have a solution, you just manage it the best you can where you can. And I'm afraid that, you know, with the homeless situation, that's kind of one of those problems.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question from the students. Thank you.
I know a lot of us, in a lot of our presentations, we talked about we want, you know, more things to do, and we want franchises and fast food restaurants, but like you said, the population kind of limits us. What's Dublin, or the City of Dublin, what efforts are y'all making for residential growth? And I know also in a lot of these downtown buildings, you know, we have the lofts and everything, and a lot of these building renovations that you were talking about, is there going to be any more residential spaces open downtown?
You want to talk about downtown?
Yeah, so at this point, we're not really, I'm sure eventually we will have more residential spaces downtown. But at this point, we've kind of utilized a good majority of what we have available. Because within our district, there's an ordinance that the first level can be commercial, Then the second level has to be residential, because, you know, you don't want anybody changing in a window and you're trying to go eat at company supply and you just see glory, you know what I mean? So, for the most part, that's been utilized. And, there's some other different opportunities that we're looking at. It's just trying to work with the financial side of things to see, you know, what opportunities are available, especially for our historic buildings. But again, for the most part, currently, the majority of our residential spacing is already utilized. So unless we have more developers that want to come in and see more residential spaces, it'll stay current for a little bit.
And also not even just downtown, but in Dublin in general, residential growth, you know.
Well, you know, a lot of that's just driven by private industry, but one of the things that we're trying to do as a city is reduce the cost of getting permits, make it easier for people who want to renovate a house where they don't have to go through as much red tape or pay as many fees. You know, right now, there's kind of a housing shortage in a way because of what we were talking about earlier, inflation, cost of materials, cost of labor. It's really hard to build new stuff. So we're trying to reduce the government cost of renovating existing houses.
Conservative treatment options are typically where we start with both knee and hip arthritis. So if you come in to see us and your hip is beginning to be arthritic or your knee's beginning to be arthritic, there's sort of a stepwise approach that we take. Anti-inflammatories, which are medicines like Motrin, Advil, Aleve, are usually sort of first line. We have prescription forms of those medications that we can use. In our elderly population, that becomes a little more difficult because they have comorbidities, things like diabetes or stomach ulcers or disease, that they can't take those medications, even hypertension. So we'll try to treat them with medications if it's appropriate. When it's not, then we go on to things like injections. So cortisone injections, or there's these things called visco injections or visco supplements, which are lubricating type injections that we can use to treat knee arthritis as well as hip arthritis to try to control people's pain. And a lot of times we do that for years for people before they get to the point where those are no longer working and we're ready to talk about knee or hip replacement.
I'm Brian Bazemore, President and CEO of Community Bank of Dublin-Lawrence County. We would like to invite you to come by and experience a welcoming banking environment. Come by today and have a cup of coffee and let us talk with you about our many products, savings accounts, checking accounts, CDs, and our many loans. You're more than just a number to us, you're family. Come by today, Community Bank of Dublin-Lawrence County, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
I am kind of interested, how many of you think that you might move back to Dublin after college, at some point after college? Wow, that's a lot. That's great. Is there, for those of you who are thinking not, what's the reason that you would not move back to Dublin after college? Anybody?
I'm not from here. I just moved here, so
Okay.
my family's not here.
Your family's not here? Yeah. That's,
I plan on pursuing real estate, and I was looking at the numbers in like different states. And like Georgia's is kind of low, so I was thinking about maybe going to like South Carolina, somewhere like that.
yeah. Yeah, economic opportunity. Anybody else? For the people who think that you would move back here, what are the reasons that you would move back? I mean, why not Atlanta? Yeah.
One of my relatives lives in Savannah, and she like loves Dublin because it's just like a small community, or I guess that's a good thing. But she just like loves the feel of the small town, and all the events downtown are like so welcoming and so inviting. So that's one of the reasons I would want to come back.
That's great. Yeah.
I'll kind of piggyback off what she said. I think a lot of people, young people, don't want to move back to Dublin because of the small town aspect. But I think that's one of Dublin's strong points is, our small town and the way, our community, we can come together, have events and things like that.
Yeah.
I like to say, like, we're small, but we're not as small as, like, our neighborhood, like Easton or Cochran, like that. And, like, when I go to Warner Robins, it's just so different than Dublin to me. And same thing with like, it's big at the same time, but it's also got that small town feel with a lot of good people in the community.
That's great. Anybody else? And one of the reasons I'm asking is that we're working on a rebranding program. You know, it's been for a long time ahead of the curve, but one of the things that we're talking about is focusing on what makes Dublin different and better than other places. And it's great to hear y'all's responses, because what we've come to as a group is this idea that Dublin's just a great small town. Like I said, let's embrace what we are, which is a small town. You know, we're big enough to have your main chain stores like your Starbucks or your Kroger, but we're small enough to have local restaurants and to have a feeling of community and your local festivals and your local small businesses. And that idea of just embracing being a small town. But we can't just be like a dead small town. We've got to be an alive small town. So we've got to have, you know, this openness to new ideas and this energy that comes from doing new buildings or keeping projects going and keeping investing in the community. So it sounds like y'all are kind of on track with that idea of just like being a great, alive, small town. Does that sound fair?
Okay, I have one last question, and it's for you guys, but also the students. It sounds like they want to be involved. They want to give back. They want to know what they can do to help and better the community that they live in, and hopefully want to come back to. But is there anything that they can do now? Any boards, any groups, committees that they can participate with now to go ahead and get those roots and give back with their fresh ideas and whatnot?
Well, I think certainly for me at Communities in Schools, we love to have volunteers, especially if you are good in math. We have kids who struggle in our after-school program that need assistance with that, helping little ones with sight words. It's a great opportunity to get volunteer hours, which looks really good on college applications. So I would love to have you come by and to see us and volunteer.
It's the same with downtown. We, you know, we put on a good number of events, and that doesn't happen without volunteers. So big thing is, you know, if you're interested and you may want to get into economic development or marketing or events, not trying to, you know, whatever, but we're a great avenue so that you can explore all of those options, whether it's volunteering at an event or volunteering to come in and putting together some marketing stuff for us. You know, we're all about setting you guys on the right track so that after you go to college, you get your degree and come back, that you know exactly what you want to do, you know exactly where you want to be. So if you're ever interested in that, we, for events and stuff, we'll feed you, we'll give you a t-shirt. So, you know, if that's something you're interested in, please let me know, because we would love to have all of you come out and enjoy those events with us.
And one other thing I'd like to add, y'all, you need to get a college degree, but there's going to be a lot of hands-on skill jobs that people are going to make. A plumber, a carpenter, electrician, a welder. There's big money to be made out there now. So, you know, if you don't want to go to college, pursue a career in some hands-on, because, like I say, every business that I talk to, I'm out about a lot in the community, everybody is begging for people that has got some skilled labor. You know, I mean, because you're, like I say, carpenters, plumbers, just like somebody to put on a roof on a house. Those people are going to start making big money. They're making big money now. But, you know, it's like the old joke about the doctor and the plumber. You know, the doctor was telling the doctor about how much it costs to do this, and the plumber told him he was making like $100 an hour. The doctor was saying he didn't make that, you know. So y'all remember, there's a certain amount of work got to be done, and all you got to do is specialize in your skill to do it. Heating and air. There's all kind of job opportunities out there, because, you know, everybody may not be able to get on a student loan. You get out of college and you got a $200,000 student loan, when you could work in a field out there that you could have went to a technical school for 2 years and got you an education, and you can be, you know, start doing your own financial planning early on in life. But like I say, just remember, there's a lot of jobs out there. If you got an opportunity to go to college and get an education, do it. But if you don't, seek out the Votex, Old Colony Fall Line, and get you a trade, because there's big money to be made out there. Cause I hear these carpenters, some of them talking about, they'd be getting through with a job, they'd be made, there was two guys the other day was telling me they did about a 4-day job and they spent $8,000 a piece after they paid their help. That's pretty good money to work 4 days. So, you know, but those are experienced carpenters and people like that, but there's a lot of business opportunities out there. There's a lot of good ways to make a living out there. So if you don't have the opportunity to go to college and don't want to run up a student debt, be looking really close at the VOTEX and get you an education. And there's always openings in law enforcement if you want to get in it.
And I was going to say, one of the groups had mentioned it earlier, but we've got our youth leadership program through Morris Bank. I know we've got several, jobs available and part-time jobs and internships, and I know a lot of other industries too. And even if you think you may not be interested in it, once you get into that may help you decide what you want to do with your career, and that way you have an opportunity when you come back somewhere that you'll have a full-time job, be able to contribute.
We've got 2 different programs at the Chamber that would help you with this if you're interested. You may have already heard, whether you're at West with Hope Morris, or at East with Lejeune Mason, or with Eric Canada or Melanie at the City, or over at Trinity with Candace, Summer Youth Works program that I mentioned earlier, and Students in Business. Have any of you heard about Students in Business program? March 9th, actually, which is coming up real soon. We should have about 90 students that have signed up to participate. And we're going to go out into the businesses. We're going to go to restaurants. We're going to the healthcare industry. We're going to automotive industry, different types of places in Dublin and Lawrence County for you to see the jobs, for you to talk to the people, to ask them what kind of educational requirements that they had to achieve to work there, find out what kind of salaries they make, and find out what the actual work conditions are, and find out what jobs are available right here in Dublin and Lawrence County. So you have an opportunity, if your school hasn't already filled up their spots, go back to school and ask about Students in Business, because like I said, we're doing that on March the 9th. And then Summer Youth Works, you can register from now. You got about a month or so still to register for that, but that's for summer jobs. It starts the first week that you get out of school and runs through the end of summer. It guarantees you $8 an hour and 32 hours a week. So 2 programs that you can get involved in if you're interested in workforce here in Dublin and Lawrence County.
Great. Well, we greatly appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedules to join us and participate in the panel discussion with the students, and we appreciate all your insight and answering these questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.